It's time to make hard choices into what we're going to keep, what we're going to lose, what we're going to change. So you can see that we've already started this process with the domains and disciplines. We took a hard look at all the things we built and said, okay, so we don't think this is to the degree of customization that we want. We need to make some fairly significant changes, though we are rearranging pieces that we already had. So today, this is going to be like, I guess, the third time, because I've done this to you guys twice now in the past. The first time we did it was when we did the race class swap. So turning back this project, you didn't have the choice of doing race and class. It was just archetypes, kind of like a MOBA. If you wanted to play a ranger, well, here's the ranger you're going to play. You don't get to pick your gender, you don't get to pick your class, you don't get to pick anything about them. You're going to have to play that particular character. So we made that change, and it kind of shook the foundations of what the game was. Looking back now, I still believe, even though it added a tremendous amount of time and effort to the overall project, I still believe it was the right answer. Like, I can't imagine, shipping the game with archetypes as we originally intended. So I've got another one of those that I'm dropping on you today, and Blair and I have been noodling on this now for a long time. It was probably a year ago that I told him I wanted to think about making this change. It is foundational. It is something that we talked about way back in Kickstarter, but it is also something that I feel like personally needs to be done before launch. So this was not just it may feel to you guys like I'm jerking the wheel, but actually I've been thinking about this for a long time. So let's talk a little bit about passive training. So passive training was originally put in because we thought it would be a interesting way to do long-term retention and advancement in the game. And we thought that it would be interesting. It actually was originally based around the idea that I mentioned of archetypes. And the thought was it would be a really nice VIP benefit because players can have advancement of multiple archetypes at one time. Because you can only play one archetype on one character at a time. So therefore it was cool because it gave me more options to play, but not necessarily pay to win. We later changed from archetypes over to classes and then subsequently dropped all of those passive training trees because we just decided that we didn't like it. So here we are now towards the end of the project, and I've got a handful of reasons for thinking this. And I'll go through them, but the basics was, at the end of the day, I don't find the system fun. So I don't know how else to explain it than that. But I went to Blair one day about a year ago, and I said, I don't think this system is good. I don't like it. I don't like the way it makes the game feel, and I certainly don't like what it does to us from a design standpoint, because it means that the game is in a constant state of change, which makes it entirely impossible to balance, right? A month after launch, you're looking at an entirely different set of min-max numbers than you are the month of launch. And a month later, it's different again. So I came to Blair and I said, I want you to go and do the research of what it would take to pull out passive training. So we've done that research now, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to move all of the things that were previously gated by passive training into the game. The numerical benefits that were given in those trees are being moved also down into disciplines and runestones, and they'll be spread around. So we're going to be able to accommodate that. But ultimately, when I ask people internally, hey, what do you think of this system? The responses I usually got were, well, we spent a lot of time and effort on it. And that's absolutely true. But in and of itself, that's not a reason to keep something, right? It's very confusing. I don't really understand it. I always forget about it, and I forget to log in and spend my points. And then when I do log in and found out that I didn't spend my points, it makes me feel crappy. So it's not a good feeling. It's a bad feeling. I don't like that I feel gated. It makes my friends not want to play because they find out that they're at a mathematical disadvantage for coming late. So the responses I got were generally not positive. There were a few positives in there, people saying, well, I kind of like the fact that for playing longer, I get a mathematical advantage. But at the same time, the flip side of that is people who are not playing longer are less inclined to join the game because they're at a mathematical disadvantage. Not one person that I talked to internally said that they found the system fun. That's a problem to me. So ultimately, I know that this is going to be, to some people, rejoicing in the streets, and to some people, this is going to be blasphemy, and they're going to hate it. I can't read the chat right now because I don't have it on my screen, so I don't know how this is being well received or not well received. But fundamentally, I feel like we originally set out to do it. We built it, and we tried it. We gave it a fair shot. I just don't like the way it feels. It feels, in fact, to me, at odds with our core promise of this game, which is with resetting campaigns, I can start a new game on an even playing field. It feels at odds with that. So after a lot of deliberation, we decided that the right answer was to pull it out. So there you go, folks. So Blair, are you looking at the chat? I'm curious what the response is.
A lot of people are very positive about it. I really haven't seen any negatives about it. Again, as